Making great art sometimes involves more than just artistic vision. Many of the distinctive features of Impressionism that we recognize today were facilitated by technological innovations. Let's take a look at some of the innovations that helped make Impressionism possible. Before the 1840s, artists were mostly in their studios. Paints were ground by hand and typically stored in pig bladders, sealed with string. Artists would poke holes in the bladder with tacks and squeeze out paint and then reseal them. This was messy, leaky, and the paints quickly dried out. Everything changed when American portrait painter John Goffey Rand invented the collapsible metal paint tube in 1841. The tubes could be rolled up from one end and had a screw cap, keeping paint fresh for much longer. Closely interconnected with the invention of the paint tube was the rise of commercially manufactured paints. Commercially made paints had a more consistent quality and improved handling properties. With these portable tubes, artists could leave their studios. Renoir said, "Without colors and tubes, there would be no Cézanne, no Monet, no Pissarro, and no Impressionism." This wasn't an exaggeration. Paint and tubes directly enabled plein air painting, or painting out of doors, which was central to Impressionism. One of the seemingly simplest innovations was to paint brushes. Traditional brushes were round and attached to a handle with string. The bristles were typically sable or softer hairs, which were great for the smooth modeling and blending used in traditional Old Master technique. But if you think of Impressionism, you probably picture bold brushstrokes and visible texture, which would have been impossible with these types of brushes. In the mid-19th century, the metal ferrule, which is the flat metal band holding the bristles to the handle, was invented. This allowed a new range of brush shapes, fans, angled brushes, and most importantly, the flat brush. These new brushes also used stiffer hairs, like hog bristles. They allowed artists to make those characteristic bold, broad strokes and dabs of pure color called tache. Perhaps one of the most astonishing and visible innovations was in color chemistry. The 19th century was a golden age for synthetic pigment development that gave artists access to many highly saturated, bright colors. By the 1870s, there was a fundamentally new range of pigments available, which were immediately adopted by the Impressionists. Many of these new pigments are found in Monet's palette. Colors like cobalt violet, emerald green, and cadmium orange. These bright, intense, and more chemically stable pigments were essential for the Impressionists' light-filled canvases. The Impressionists weren't just using new tools, they were also applying cutting-edge science. In the 1860s, chemist Michel-Eugène Chevreul published his theories on the simultaneous contrast of colors, which stated that colors appear differently depending on the colors that surround them. In other words, color was not an inherent property of an object as previously thought. Instead, color was the product of light and perception. It was an experience rather than an absolute. These theories fundamentally changed how artists thought about color. The Impressionists realized that they didn't need to physically mix paints to create certain effects. Instead, they could place dots or strokes of pure color side by side, allowing the viewer's eye to blend them optically. One of the more fascinating concepts to shape Impressionist technique was one passionately embraced by Claude Monet. He described an envelope, an almost magical veil of atmosphere that exists between the artist and the subject. This, too, was based on the 19th century theory that light and color were propagated as waves through a medium called the luminiferous ether. Monet believed that what we see isn't just the object itself, but the object as it appears through this medium. an atmospheric veil. That's why Monet painted the same subjects, like haystacks or the Rouen Cathedral, over and over at different times of day and in different weather conditions. He was capturing the unique envelope of light and atmosphere that transformed it moment by moment. And that's the tech behind the art. Impressionism wasn't solely an artistic revolution. It was a technological one, too. Those beautiful water lilies aren't just the product of artistic genius, but also of paint tubes, new brushes, vibrant pigments, and scientific understanding of light and color. Next time you see an Impressionist masterpiece, take a moment to appreciate not just its beauty, but the innovations behind it.